All right, we are joined on the phone by the guy that pushes all the buttons and I guess in theory owns Talladega Superspeedway, but no, he's just the president. Well, not just the president. He's Grant Lynch, and he joins us here, President Talladega Superspeedway, the Camping World 500, the Fred's 250, the Sprint Cup Series, Camping World Truck Series races are coming into town here in just a couple of weeks, well, less than 2 weeks. And Grant, I'm telling you what, it's getting exciting over there, isn't it?
Well, it sure is, Doug. I tell you, we call a little bit of a break. Anybody who knows anything about Talladega should know how much it's an Earnhardt track. And when Dale Jr. made it into the 12 round of the Chase people, got down from 16 to 12, and he made it in as the 12th person. And then Kevin Harvick won at Dover, which put him in the Chase as well. And both of those guys have huge fan bases. Junior with by far the most massive fan base of our fan base at Talladega. So getting both of them in at Dover was a big push for us.
It was a big push for the sport because a lot of people were expecting Kevin Harvick to go all the way to Homestead, and they had their Chase grids made up that way, even if you weren't a Harvick fan. And then, of course, Earnhardt Jr. is the most popular driver of the sport. And there's just something about Earnhardt's at Talladega, Grant. Can you explain that phenomenon a little bit?
I think it probably just stems from his dad and how big a fan base he had and how good he was at restrictor plate tracks, with Talladega and Daytona being two of them. And really more at Talladega than at Daytona. Senior just went so long before he finally won a Daytona 500, I think was in 93, I'm not positive.
Yeah,
anyway,
98, so yeah.
And so you got that, and then once Senior passed away, and Junior kind of took the mantle over for the Earnhardt family. At one point, he won 4 straight Talladegas, and that kind of cemented the legend of Earnhardt's being able to see air and everything else, and just run good at restrictor plates. And he's actually bringing back the same car that he won Talladega in May and Daytona in July, and it's the exact same car he's bringing for this race. So he's got to be in the top 5 of anybody picks to win Talladega.
And now he's in a situation where, although only 19 points away from the Chase cutoff, he's already looking at, I might need to win to get into this thing, and that's exactly what Brad Keselowski did last year, right?
Yeah, Brad came in last year, and Junior and Jimmy Johnson came to Talladega needing a win, and then Brad was able to get the win. And, of course, we're going to eliminate 4 again next Sunday, and we'll go from 12 to 8 again. And so I think there's a lot of nervous people. But, what's funny is at the start of the Chase each year, and the people start talking about the Chase, and certainly by the time we get to the Chase, the final 10 races, they start talking about Talladega because they're worried about it, which just keeps, good news or bad news, you're in the headlines, so I guess it's good.
I think there's no doubt that Talladega is the most trepidatious race, the most significant race of the Chase. And now that they've made Homestead a one-and-done deal, I guess Homestead is second, but or maybe some people would say it's first, but Talladega is right there. Last year, Kyle Busch looked like he was finally putting a good Chase together. He'd been in the thick of things through the 2013 Chase run, and then last year it seemed like he was doing well, was going to be able to advance. And then wouldn't you know it, he comes to Talladega and wrecks out and doesn't make it in. And one thing is, it was really exciting, Grant, is I was stationed like I always do when I watch a Talladega race. I can't sit in the media center. It's too boring. I got to go sit outside to really experience it. And my father-in-law and I, we always go sit right in front of one of those video boards near Victory Lane. And you've got all those working again. And I think some expansion along the lines of providing video to fans, right?
Yeah, we had 3 permanent structures installed for May. We've got the 4th one in now, and the boards just go up into this huge steel structure. And I tell you, it's kind of like having a man cave of your own at Talladega because you're sitting in the grandstand, you're watching unbelievable racing, but instead of having those little screens we used to have from our partner Sprint, and we appreciate what they did for so many years and sponsored those boards for us at all the tracks. But at the same time, these new boards are they're the newer technologies. It's brighter, it's much, much bigger, and it's also up in the air where you can look directly at it. So I think the fans have really enjoyed those boards, and you see so much more clear. And Talladega is a huge racetrack, and even though you can see the cars on the backstretch, you can't see the detail of what's going on, and you have the replays right in front of you.
And it's exciting, too, because unlike most tracks where the cars get strung out, for the most part, even though sometimes the pack does spread out a little bit, Talladega, you get moments of silence, too, where you're not hearing the loud drones of race cars close by. So you can hear our talented folks at MRN doing the play-by-plays. So you can hear them, which it's always more exciting to listen to on the radio. You can hear them with the play-by-play when they're on the back straightaway, and you can not only see who's going into the lead, but hear the great turn announcers and booth announcers say what's up.
You're exactly right. The smaller the racetrack, the more you need headphones. Really.
Yes.
At Talladega, it's pretty loud when those 43 cars or 40 or 38, however many's left, come by you. But when they go down into turn one, you can basically have a conversation just like you and I are.
Yes.
And then you can hear the other person, and you don't have to say what or anything else. And when they come back by, you can't. And that's another thing about, we have the old kind of light bulb scoreboard tower. And one guy wrote me called me one time, was talking to me, he said, I'm mad, Roger Penske only had 40 spots on his, and I got mad at him and said, you ought to have 43, and I came to your place, and you only got 10, and I sat there for a minute, and I said, well, sir, the difference is, at Talladega, when they come by, the guy in the front's in the lead, and everybody else is right behind him. You can see where they are. You don't have to find him on the racetrack and see who's number two. He's right behind him, and he's right beside him, or in his next lap, he's going to be in front of him. So we almost don't need one because it changes so fast we can't keep up with.
Well, and what's great on the video boards, too, is they do the points as they run, which in an elimination chase race is it changes so much at Talladega, it almost doesn't matter because 1 second you could be second, the next lap you could be 17th. But at the same time, it's great to see exactly where somebody needs to finish. And I remember the folks that put the in-house production together had the points completely as they ran the entire time there. And if you're a driver that's leading, that means you already transfer, so your points don't even matter. It's really exciting. All right, so besides the Sprint Cup race, the Camping World 500, which is going to be huge, you got a lot of deals for the weekend, including for those Camping World campers and for everybody else. And some big parties in the infield. Can you give that a little rundown?
Yeah, Friday night we kick it off with the big one on the boulevard and bringing back Talladega again, the costume contest for our infield fans.
All right.
I don't know why we're doing it in October. They dress up in May. We can have it in May, too. and then, of course, that's a big party in our infield for our infield customers and our Dega Club members, which is someone who renews a Saturday, Sunday ticket package during our renewal period. That's how you get into that. Saturday night, after the Camping World truck race, at Talladega, we have Easton Corbin playing. In order to go in and hear Easton, all you have to do is have a Sunday race ticket, and that gets you into Easton. So that's an added value for our race fans as well. Also, don't forget unlimited free camping in Talladega for our fans. Hundreds and hundreds of acres of free camping. Great prices for military and youth and collegiate levels of folks on those three areas. And then, of course, Sunday is the Camping World 500, campingworld.com 500, the big race that everybody's waiting for.
Of course, and I'm excited about the trucks coming Saturday afternoon, too, and they're going to be out there taking to the track, and they have a pretty tight points battle with Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, and Matt Crafton toward the top of the standings there, and this race is, although it's not a chase race and the points aren't as compressed and they don't have eliminator rounds and all these different things, they have a season-long points battle and some young drivers up there jostling for it, too.
And you know how they do, Doug. I mean, when they unload those trucks, their practice is better than most races in a lot of places. I mean, they truly get out there and they start trying to see what they can do with each other. And then once the race starts, it just even intensifies it even further. And the issue with Talladega, when you race like you can race there, is you always have a chance of a multi-car accident. And certainly those guys are going to be pushing and shoving. And I think some of them will probably be a little strategic about how much they get into it early. But they'll be ready to get into it at late. I know that.
Oh, for certain. And usually the cream rises to the top in those truck races too. You don't get a lot of, even in the plate races, a lot of one-off strange winners. You have a lot of the veterans up there, and we'll see how that shakes out. Now, you mentioned the multi-car crashes. Of course, Talladega's had its share of those. That's why that party's called the big one on the boulevard, because you have those crashes called the big one. And the big
and a meatball to call the big one.
Yeah, there you go. And so, with the severity of crashes and the increased talk of safety, you all have taken some extra lengths with safer barriers around the track too, and that's 2.66 miles, really times two, that you've had to work with.
Yeah, we've put up by race time. We will have completed putting up 8,000 feet, new feet of safer barrier that'll be ready for racing this time. Basically, all of our interior walls and all of our exterior walls will be covered with the safer barrier system. A little bit more work to do on some of the safety vehicle openings that we'll be completing down the road, but it's the most safer barrier, I guess, any oval track will ever put up, just because we are the biggest.
Yeah.
And we're proud that we were able to work with our company and get that ready for the drivers. As we know, safety is something that we never stop in. We're always looking to do more, and we're glad to see that we can get as much up as we did.
Well, and I think as soon as that news came out, I think it was last week, there wasn't anybody decrying it. Let's put it that way. There were a lot of positive vibes about that, and with the stipulation, or the, I guess, stigma that some people talk about with the big crashes and the danger of them, it's good to see that you all have made the move, and I know Daytona's making the move, trying to get that way as well, and they're doing a lot of stuff at their track to get it turned around. Now, one more question for you before you have to go do some more media availability here in the ATL. Would like to know, and by the way, we're speaking with the Talladega Superspeedway president, Grant Lynch. We'd like to know, next year, I know the schedule hasn't been announced, but are you all planning for roughly the same schedule of racing at Talladega?
Yeah, I think we'll be fairly close to where we are this year. It's not exactly where we are in the schedule, and we haven't heard anything different up to this point. That doesn't mean it couldn't change going forward, but I would say we're in the 90s, mid-90 percentile, that we know we're going to be about the same place next year.
So fans are already get ready to be thinking about securing those tickets for next year, too, to both of the Sprint Cup Series races at Talladega Superspeedway in roughly May or October. Well, Grant, thanks so much for joining us today, and we hope you're enjoying your brief swing here through Atlanta, and hope you get to stop and get some good groceries before you head back home.
Well, thanks so much. I'm actually headed out to Kansas for the races this weekend, and to Tarkville and MRN a couple of days. Get the word out just a little bit more before we go into race week.
Oh, that sounds fun. Well, Kansas Speedway Sunday and then Talladega after that. We're looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for having me on.